Hello and welcome back to another episode of The Content Crowd. My name is Trevor Grimes, and this is a podcast where we like to explore what makes content resonate, from creative habits to point of view shifts to behind the scenes breakdowns and more, so that listeners and also me can stop mimicking others and start making something that truly matters. I want to start off by mentioning that this podcast is sponsored by Scrappy ABM. Scrappy ABM helps build repeatable account-based plays and teaches you and your team how to do it on your own so that you can bring ABM in-house when you're ready. Okay, let's get into it. I am pleased to have my big comeback episode after being gone for 2 months with a great person. His name is Wael Davis. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited for you.
Yeah, I'm excited for you. I'm excited. Well, I'm excited for me that you are here because I'm super pumped to have you on here. And this is my first time actually like chatting with you face to face. We've talked a few times on TikTok, but basically you came across my For You page on TikTok, and you were talking about content creation in some way, and I was just like, I want to keep hearing more from him. So I'm like, I want to have him on a podcast. I want to do that. So really you came across my For You page, and whatever you said I thought was like so cool. And so
I actually know I know the video that you're talking about. So thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm glad we connected. Honored to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yes.
So let's just jump into it. Let's just, I want you to give everybody a quick rundown of who you are and what you do and what you tell people that you do at parties, because marketing and content is so fun to explain to people who don't do it. So
funny story, if I'm out socially, I will tell people that I am a life coach and former attorney general. So that is my party line.
Does that not give, do people just quit asking at that point, or do they dig? Okay.
Because you know what, I find a lot of people when they're out of work mode, they sometimes tend to shy. Anyway, my name is Wael Davis. I've been working in the social media and digital landscape for, oh my gosh, 12, 13 years now. I started my career working in fashion. I call it my first big boy job was with Donna Karan International, while it was still under the LVMH umbrella. From there on, Perry Ellis, Steve Madden, have some really great experiences. And then over the last, I'd say 3 to 4 years, I've moved more into B2B. And then I currently work at the National Association of Marketers as the director of social media and communication strategy. And I'm very excited to be here today to talk about content, my favorite subject.
Yeah, mine too. I mean, I hate to just glaze over the fashion part, but that sounds, so you were doing marketing for them, you were doing content and things like that.
Yes, I was an early adapter to the working in the social space as a career. I always tell, right place, right time, right? And I knew very early on, I actually wanted to be a journalist. I wanted to be a writer. That could still be a very lucrative career. But I just knew that a shift was going to happen. And I knew that social media was going to revolutionize the way that we communicated with each other. And I was right. So I'm happy I made the pivot. It's a really exciting space to be in.
I mean, having either creating a following or doing something on social, I mean, it kind of makes you a journalist. You kind of get to be a self-made journalist in a way, right? You can kind of just pick a topic you want to talk about and become a journalist on that thing. So whether it's fashion or movies, or for example, I just realized I was cleaning out my inbox and realized that I'm subscribed to something called Bug of the Week, which it just talks about literally bugs. I thought I was is this an accident coding thing that I signed up for? And I'm no, it's literally about bugs. I don't know what at some point I was interested in figuring out what bug was in my house, I guess, and got subscribed to this newsletter. But now that person, this thing I'm got is they're kind of like a journalist and a writer all about just different bugs. So I think being able, growing up, I feel like a lot of us had so many different ideas of what we kind of wanted to be, and social media and the internet kind of let us do those things on our own terms a lot of ways if you take advantage of it.
Absolutely. I mean, it's completely democratized and leveled the playing field in terms of what people are able to do for themselves opportunity wise. Free tools that you're able to utilize with some rules and guidelines, of course, of certain things that you can and can't do. But I mean, for the most part, think about it. If you wanted to be an actor 30 years ago, you had a very traditional route of which you had to do that, right? Now, you can go online, create your own skits in your own home with your cell phone, and be able to make a living doing that and not have to worry or go necessarily the traditional route. And it's really changed the landscape. And speaking of journalists, I will say, if you look at how podcasts have evolved, how Substack and newsletters and email marketing has evolved, people have really given themselves, the power to be able to communicate subject matter experts. Just like TikTok has kind of become like the documentary go-to platform. That's like where people go to like break cases down and stuff like that. So yeah, no, you're totally right.
I love that you brought up Substack, because that was one thing I was going to try to like sneak in to ask, because I realized today that you have one, and like it seems like everybody. I missed the shift. Like, it seems like I sort of like came back and started looking, and everybody is like, go check out my Substack. And everybody has like a Substack now. And I'm like, okay, like I'm very interested in this, but that's I don't want to get too deep into it, but why are people doing Substacks over just like a blog on like a website?
Great question. Substack is sort of, and from my purview, Substack to me feels like it emerged really kind of out of nowhere, like, out of nowhere, but in a really positive way. And I think the emergence was a desire for more long form written content. The world that I live in, I'm constantly looking at how can you get a point across in the most succinct, impactful, and quickest way possible, because I'm looking at it from an impression standpoint of people's habits. Substack, I think, grew out of a desire for people just to want to be able to express themselves in more long form, not necessarily on video. And so Substack is really turning into a super powerful hub. I love it for being able to just talk about culture stuff, like maybe some of my favorite books. Last week, I talked about how, a lot of the people that I admire in business, were married and in long-term relationships when they were building their empires. And, how does that positively impact our lives? So there's just so many different ways and avenues to be able to look at Substack. And the number one rule that I want to remind everybody about, you do not have to be active on every single platform. Find what works for you the best. Do not feel pressure to cave in. I mean, you could do it all, but you don't have to do it all. There's so many different necks of the woods to be able to. For sure.
It's so tempting though. It's so it's so much fun to be like, oh, I should start a Substack talking about. But then it's kind of like like you said, there's like that desire to do something and talk about something, and it's like, if I have a Substack, I'm just going to talk about the same things I talk about on every other platform, like that I talk about on this. Maybe it doesn't need. I don't need to like put myself through something else necessarily. I think it is important to really focus on. I think a lot of times I hear like advice from people from just like watching like videos and stuff like that, is like focus on one and get like really good at it. And I think like that is good in practice or in theory, but maybe not always in practice. I think you mentioned like do what you are like what you're good at, or kind of go after what you're good at. You might be really good at like short form videos, and so like maybe LinkedIn isn't like the best place. Maybe like YouTube Shorts and TikTok, or maybe just YouTube Shorts is like where your audience is and the kind of stuff you make. So I think like I think it's good to dabble a little bit in everything, but so you can kind of get that experience and figure out what you like what you like the most and what you like to do the most.
I agree with that. That's great advice.
So when we're talking about where to create content and how to create content, what is a philosophy or rule that you live by or try to live by when it comes to creating content?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say no effort goes unnoticed. I personally am someone who is more sat in the business corporate end of content creation. And one of the reasons why I started to put myself out there more on social media was because I need to be able to understand the process. I need to be able to understand what it's like to be able to create content from scratch. And obviously you can understand how to do that by doing Instagram and doing a little TikTok here and there, but I've really invested some more time in my spare time to be able to create content myself because again, I think it's really crucial for me to be nimble and understand all the different nuances of, what are the latest updates? What are the latest tricks of the trade of how the algorithm is working? But my overall philosophy is that no effort goes unnoticed. And every time that you put yourself out there, you are actually giving yourself more confidence and more strength because it's not easy.
Yeah.
I think that's a hard space for a lot of people to personally push themselves out on social media. So
Yeah.
that's really my philosophy. I look at it more as like an exercise in confidence and helping boost your own personal brand. I know some people hate that term personal brand, but welcome to 2025. That's just the
Yeah.
way it is,
Yeah.
Your personal brand is important. And I think someone described it best. I forget where I heard this, but she was basically saying is that you want people to be able to find you. You
Yeah.
want to be findable. And I thought that was like such an interesting perspective. I'd never thought about it from that perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's like, you want to be findable, I think is
Yeah.
really, I think that's a good piece of advice that like, it's not so much about, I have to start posting on LinkedIn so that I can, I can build all these followers. And so that way I look more attractive and all that is part of it, like more attractive to like, people that you might be applying for a job, like
Yeah.
recruiters, but also just being like findable. I think like,
Yeah.
when I'm researching people to be on my podcast, for example, like I try to go find them like everywhere possible. I filmed you on TikTok and when I sent you over the form, you didn't put your headshot. I thought, oh, he must be on LinkedIn because if I put in there, if you don't send your headshot, I'll get it off LinkedIn. So it's like,
I
oh,
saw
I didn't
that.
even.
So I was like, he'll pull it.
Yeah, and I did that. So I went and looked. I was like, oh, he, I haven't added him on LinkedIn yet. That's cool. And then you were talking like find me on Instagram. I'm like, okay, so there's a lot of places where I go and find him and see like what he's up to. And I think like in a way like it's attractive to be able to like in a healthy way sort of form a relationship with somebody just from being able to find them from the content they create.
Yeah.
And like I was
Yes.
going through your TikTok videos earlier today, like just to make sure that I just felt very familiar with you and everything. And it's like, hey, oh, there's a lot of things that I hadn't seen, and you're talking about a lot of different things, and it's like really cool. Like you're talking about movies and like all kinds of other stuff, and
Yeah.
I've been locked into you're mostly creating like B2B content or just like
Yes.
not inspirational content for other creators. And
Yes.
your Substack is about clickbait. And then I was going through that and I was like, there's all kinds of other things on there that are really cool.
Yeah.
So, and then you talk about, like the things you talk about on your Substack, like people that are married, like there's just a lot of cool things that you find out, and it just makes you feel like, I don't know, more connected in a way that I think a lot of people miss out on because we're trying so hard to be something and we're looking for certain types of people. And it's like, no way, people are like way more interesting and way more, thoughtful and full of depth if they're putting those things out there for others to find.
So well said. You got like the little sparks going off in my brain when you were saying that. I love that you said that. And you're absolutely correct. We are all such multifaceted individuals. Nobody is the same person 24 hours a day. Nobody's interested in just one thing 24 hours a day, especially in our modern age, right? We all are interested in different types of music and movies and arts and activities, ping pong, kickball, volleyball, whatever it may be. And I think social media is so fun and powerful because it gives us the ability to be able to express all those different facets of ourselves in different mediums. And that's why like one day I'm posting about my love of the Chili's triple dipper. And then the next I'm posting about getting my wisdom teeth out. All four, by the way, all four.
How far are you into recovery now? How long
I'm
ago was
on
it?
week 3. I'm on week
Okay.
3.
So no straws yet, right? You're still
no straw. I have not gone
okay.
back to straws yet.
Okay.
But it's it's like you get to why not? It's fun. It's lighthearted. I'm very much a firm believer in that. Social media should be fun. I just really believe that. Yeah.
So I'm gonna throw something, hopefully not a curveball at you, but like I think we can both agree, or we can land on some agreements that like content creation or putting yourself out there and creating a lot of content is maybe not for everybody. Like maybe there's, you should enjoy it, or you should have, you can definitely like learn it and make yourself do it. But how do you, and maybe you don't have an answer, maybe we just leave it for everybody else to ponder after this episode, but how do you, if you're a person who maybe doesn't enjoy creating content yet, or they don't feel like it's a passion on top of all their other things, how do you suggest somebody puts themselves out there? Maybe they have a desire to put themselves out there, but like the creation part, or like getting on getting on like social media is like unenjoyable. How do we like overcome that so we can still share, our stuff with the world or with others and feel connected without being like feeling like content creation is a chore?
Totally. I think the first thing is really having some honest conversations with yourself about what do you actually want out of it? Because your intention is going to set what comes out on the other end. So if your intention is clear when you go into it, I'm committing to doing X and X amount of postings a week, or X and X amount of postings a month. I think you want to approach it somewhat strategically, because if you approach it strategically, I think it'll be a little bit more manageable for you.
Yeah.
I do think there is a time and a place, and for some people it actually works just to be completely off the cuff, and just, living life. And that definitely works for some people, and that's fine as well. Whatever works best for you. But I think if you are a person who has been thinking about it and pondering about it, I think putting a plan in place, even if it's just like top line notes in the back of your head, write it in the notes on your iPhone or something like that. I really do think that helps with starting to come up with a more clearer picture of what you want out of it. And then the rest will really flow. But I think you got to just figure out, what exactly do you want? Are you looking to promote yourself? Are you looking to promote your business? Are you looking to grow your following, to strengthen your career? What do you want out of it? And I think when you approach it with that mindset, I think it'll feel more rewarding.
Yeah, no, that's a super good answer. And I think that's kind of what I did with this in a accidental way, but I started getting more strategic about like creating a podcast. So one of the things that I've always wanted to do is, I'm going to put this in quotes, but like own or run a media company. Now, what that means can be a lot of different things, but like I imagine like working with people who create podcasts and YouTube videos and things like that, and helping them do what I'm doing here. And I've like wrestled with it for years. It's like, you kind of just have to like start, but where do you start? And it's like, you do a lot of research up front, and you spend all this time videoing and editing and all these things. And it's a hard place to start. But that's not thinking like strategically about it. And I'm super thankful for my friend and coworker, Joseph, who he just said, if anybody wants to start a podcast, like, let me know. And I was like, I just don't know I've started them and stopped them. And I've spent so much time and effort trying to get on other people's podcasts to try and like amplify my voice. And he was like, he's like, you could just do a live show on LinkedIn once a week. All you have to do is just show up and talk and just let it live there, and don't put it anywhere else. And you've got a podcast. And then I was like, okay. I was like, that seems easy enough. Like I can start getting guests and put a questionnaire together and put all these things together. And then like, it only took a few weeks before I was like, well, I can start putting on YouTube now. I can start turning that one out, 30 minutes to 45 minutes or whatever of talking to somebody can easily be turned into clips to share. And it becomes this sort of exponential growing of content, but being more strategic about how I was creating content, like meant for me at least, was eliminating all of the big, like, I don't know, like daunting steps of actually setting up a time to talk in front of a microphone every week, or recording myself and editing it and finding, and getting behind. I don't get behind anymore because I find somebody who's way more interesting and talented to me, and I just make them talk at me for an hour. So that takes out a lot of the research. I just got to find somebody and send them a questionnaire, and then once this is over, like this can live on LinkedIn, but I can take the audio from this and just upload it straight to Spotify or, wherever I can upload it straight to these places and get it sent out. I don't even have to edit it because, we're just kind of being off the cuff here a little bit, but like I've got questions to kind of help me go through it, but I can edit it more, or I can turn it into videos. But basically like this 1 hour of time that I'm spending a week to get a guest on here and talk, and again, use their talents to make, me seem a lot better. It is turned into, it's exponential growth, where now that it's very strategic and systematic about how I talk with people and upload content. And so I'm creating all this content around this great conversation that I've had.
Yes. And every time you do it, it's going to get easier. It just gets easier and easier. Yeah.
I mean, I had my first email 2 weeks ago for somebody who wanted to be on the pod, like reached out to me. And at first you're like, oh, is this real? And it's like, no, it's like a real person. They own an agency, and it's a legit agency. Like, it's all real. And it's just like, it's very cool. Like, it's, and I mentioned there's a sponsor of the podcast. The company I work for was like, hey, we like what you're doing, we'll sponsor it. So they actually edit it for me and do it. I just talk and send them the footage, and they do all that. So I'm saying, like, all those things are possible. Like, dude, having a sponsored podcast, like, was in my mind and so out of reach for so many years, but getting strategic and systematic about how I created it made it easier for me just to kind of come up and do what I do best. I think, like, I'm trying to relate that to all the things you've talked about, like finding where you live, where you feel the best doing and what you feel the best doing, and then be strategic and build a system around it so it's easy for you to do it. And you could just, show up one time a week and wear the same thing and talk about the same thing, and then, go from there.
Totally. You're so right. I don't put pressure on myself to have to wear anything crazy. I'm like, I just wear the same stuff all the time. Like, it's all good. Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah. So I appreciate if you're like, because it's connecting on those things. We're like, oh, this is kind of what I've been doing. Like, it's I just kind of realized, it's a lot easier when you make things, strategic, when you think strategically about how you, even if it's just like off the cuff, like you having, like, talking about your you've got wisdom teeth surgery coming up. You're like, I can just make video, like I can just live, like, stream what happens after that, like update that. That's kind of strategic,
Totally. And it's funny too, because even myself, someone who's been working in this space professionally for so long, I think there's definitely the early days of social media, maybe like the first decade of it, up until just the pandemic really changed everything, I think, in terms of how people digest content and how they feel about it on a personal level. I really do think TikTok was such a huge shift, and I think TikTok was revolutionary because I think it really helped finally normalize people making their own content. Instagram is a very specific platform that really does very specific things really, really well. But I think TikTok coming along, just added a new exciting element. And I really do think it helped normalize people on an individual basis making more and more content. And I think that's why now I see so many of my contemporaries doing such fabulous work on Instagram, on YouTube, and Substack. And it's really, really inspiring. And congrats to you on all your hard work, because it's paying off.
Thank you. Well, congrats to you too as well. That's definitely the pandemic shift that. I definitely think, like, it changed the kind of content that we, I mean, one of the things I was watching, like, somebody talk about, YouTube rewinds the other day. And like, obviously, like, the last YouTube rewind was like 2019, everybody was like really upset by it. And then like 2020, they're like, we're not going to do it. And they kind of never came back from it. And it's also like, if you think about if they were going to do a rewind now, like, you've got like a lot of the content that is like MrBeast style or Mark Rober style. But I think like the most popular stuff has become like commentary of people sitting in a place, like whether it's their room or their office, or they're like out somewhere, a lot of it is in your house, like kind of is, it's not as many. I mean, there's still like, I'm sure there's a lot of skits and things like that, but less like big challenges and more of like people just like sitting in their house, like telling you a story or like complaining about something has become like such an interesting thing. And I think like that made like the pandemic kind of push that to the top, because that's what all people could do is sit around and complain or make make themselves laugh or whatever, but it made all of us like normalize like just sitting in your room, like talking to a camera, or and pretending that your best friend is on the other side, so you can sort of just feel like a human in a way. It might be the only interaction you have that day is just like sit in front of a camera and talk. So
exactly. And letting go of perfection. It's impossible. It doesn't really exist. You got to just do it and be comfortable with that. And I think that's why I always stress to people is that it should be fun.
Yeah.
If you feel like social media is maybe triggering you or making you feel some type of way, always utilize the not interested buttons. They work.
Mm-hmm.
And only engage with content that brings you joy.
Yeah.
And you got to train your algorithms to do that. And as soon as something comes across your screen that you're not into or that is not a subject you want to see, don't engage with it, don't forward it. Stay focused on the content that you're seeing that makes you feel good and that makes you feel joyful, because it'll really reshape your experience when you're online and make it overall much more positive.
Yeah. That's a great. If nobody leaves with anything else, I want them to like listen to that, because I think that's like super important. Of like, if you're going to spend your precious time scrolling, like at least make it like enjoyable, like learning something or laughing or meeting somebody that you'd be interested in having a real conversation with. Like
100%. Use it to better yourself. And that goes with anything in life. I mean, I think of it like in the same way movies, right? Like I particularly can't watch horror movies because I'm too squeamish, and I'll literally have nightmares. So I kind of steer away from horror movies. I kind of like it's the same,
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and it's just kind of the same thing. Like curate it so that you can continue to get inspiration from it. That's my best advice.
Yeah, I like that. I like watching the same things over and over and over. So
Me too.
like,
Me too.
so that makes me feel better about my decision.
Me too.
Cool. I want to be thoughtful of your time. So I'll ask the final question that I ask everybody. It's the big one.
Let's hear
but
it.
it is, what's one hill? Sorry, one hill. What is one hill that you will die on when it comes to content?
There's no such thing as a flop.
Okay.
Number one, there's no such thing as a flop. Every time, again, I think I said this earlier, right? Every time you make an effort to do something or to put yourself out there or to step into the arena, you are giving yourself a chance and a new opportunity. And it's like one step in front of the other, like slowly but surely. I'll give you an example. It was about a year and a half, 2 years ago now. I had been featured in a magazine, and I went to go post about it on LinkedIn because I was so proud of the feature, and it's in print, and I had like a physical copy, and I couldn't go through with posting it on LinkedIn. I like deleted it, and I just thought to myself, I was like, but why? What was I afraid of in that? Why was I so hesitant to commend myself or to share an accomplishment with my peers or on a social network from someone who makes a living working in social media? The irony, right?
Yeah.
And my takeaway from that was I needed to have more confidence in myself, and I needed to have more confidence just in what I've accomplished and what I can do, and in the knowledge that I've, gotten over the years from experience. And, I think it was just a really big learning curve for me and a turning point where I really feel like there's no such thing as a flop. There's no such thing as a miss. I don't care if your views are 17, 20, 30, 40, under 100, whatever. It's like everything that you do is a step in the right direction and a step at giving yourself more confidence to do other things. And it can also help you out with really random things. I got to tell you, I never realized how much I said like before I started recording content. And
oh man, you can't imagine. Yeah, there's
right. You never realize like that's also helped me become a more succinct professional speaker. If I'm in meetings or I'm talking with people professionally, it's helped me to become more focused and think about how I talk. So again, it's all there. The blessings are all there. You just got to look for them. You just got to look for them. Yeah.
I want to come off the end of that and be like, it is all the years that I've thought that I've been really good at hiding and masking my accent as best as I can, and then I start listening to myself do more like these podcasts and stuff, and I'm just like, oh, like I did a few solo episodes, so I was talking a lot, and I was like, oh man, like come on, like you've tried so hard over the years, So, yeah, definitely after you start recording,
you start
content
hearing
here,
yourself
yeah,
back. Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah,
oh man.
yeah.
But also, I appreciate what you said about like it's not being a flop, and it's all about building that confidence and putting that out, putting that out there. And I want to lead like in that with what you said to me before we got on the podcast, which was be kind to yourself. And I think that's a
Yes,
big thing
yeah.
of like,
You have to.
put it out there. Like, yes, like you might feel a little cringe or a little scared, but like put it out there. And I mean, the best case scenario, like somebody sees it and it's really meaningful and it helps them out. And it's not even the worst case scenario, but it's like the next level down is that nobody sees it at all. And you were so scared to put it out there and it kind of didn't have any, I mean, that's what's kind of so good about, starting out and having a small following or not have, like, you can post things and you can test things out and see what works. And nobody's going to remember if you posted something that, like, I mean, unless you say something like super controversial, but
Yes,
if you're just putting your normal content out there and something doesn't go well, I mean, I've had like 5 or 6 of the same posts that I keep trying to rewrite and redo, and all of them do bad because I think it's such a good idea, but they just keep doing bad. I don't know why yet, but I'm just going to keep trying it, and
keep doing it.
somebody
Yeah.
might see it and somebody might not. But going back with when I was talking about going through your TikTok today, I was like, there's all kinds of things that I missed, that I didn't see. But I'm sure you've got a sect of your audience or followers that are really they're really digging like your movie stuff, and they don't know about your wisdom teeth, but I know about your wisdom teeth.
Yes.
So
yes.
No, there's so many people out there. So
totally. And I always say, and we were talking about this earlier when we were prepping for the interview, is we got to be kind to ourselves. We got to stop being so hard on ourselves. Life is tough enough as it is and deals with its own challenges. We all have really busy lives with family and spouses and personal lives and all those things. We all got a lot going on. And the best thing that we can do for ourselves is to be kind to ourselves and to positively encourage ourselves. And this is coming from someone who can be very tough on himself. But you gotta check yourself when it happens and keep going, because I guarantee also too, something that people always got to remember, there's always people interested in the same things that you're interested in. You just got to keep putting yourself out there so that you can connect with them. That's the key. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. I don't even want to say anything. I just want to say I agree. Like, I want to end on this because that was such a high note and such a good piece of advice. So I just want to end this and say thank you so much for being here. And thank you for everybody that's watching and listening. I've been Trevor Grimes, and this is my amazing guest, Wael Davis. Thank you so much for coming on here.
Thank you, Trevor, and
so
congratulations on everything. You're doing a great job, and I can't wait to continue to tune into the podcast. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, maybe you come back another time. Let me know when you've got some free days. You can come back. I think people would love to hear you talk because you speak very well, and you have a lot of great things to say, and I want to keep hearing from you. So
thank you. I appreciate that. You have a great day, man.
You too.
Thank you so much. All right, bye.